Today I'm very excited to share all the things I knitted and crocheted in 2024. The first project I finished in January 24 is the Oslo Hat. I used a Trafil Falkland worsted in the colorway Chestnut, and my gauge was a little bit larger than the original gauge. So yeah, I managed to just do it according to my head circumference, but you start with here at the bottom, and after a couple of certain rounds you just turn with a short row and start knitting in stockinette in the round again. That way you're not purling in any round. But as you make the decreases and as you come closer to the top of the hat, which I don't like in any hat because it's the hardest part for me, I wasn't able to manage the very small circumference here because I didn't have double pointed needles, or at least I thought it was because I hadn't had double pointed needles. So it's just kind of weird here at the top. So let me put this on. It's okay. But I don't wear that often. So that is the project when I decided to purchase double pointed needles, and then I did. This year I knitted the Stockholm Hat by Petite Knit again, which I'll show you later on, and I used my double pointed needles here at the tip or top of the hat, and it was much more successful, but it was not fun. Yeah, I don't like to knit the top of the hat because it's very small circumference. So that's the first project of 2024. The second project I finished in 2024 is the Emily jacket by Sari Nordland. This is the second time I'm knitting the Emily jacket because the first one was a test knit and it was in 23. This is my second knit. I used Lamia alpaca boucle and Rowan alpaca soft decay held together through the body and the sleeves, but the I-cord edge and the I-cord bottom band is only in non-boucle yarn, so I only used Rowan alpaca soft decay for the I-cord bottom band, and it was the first time I did an I-cord bottom band, which I also have a short video on how to do it. So yeah, I don't know, it's kind of cropped, but I love it really. And look at those fancy buttons that I chose. And I knitted size XS for this, which was kind of small for me. So when I buttoned the buttons, there was kind of holes here, so I just sewed them. Now it's not a cardigan or jacket anymore, it's a sweater with buttons. I just left this top button sewed. Yeah, it was like this before, so I had to sew it. And that's the Emily jacket by Sari Nordland. And this is the Smilla Sweater by Anne Mansell. I knitted this in Gazelle Alpaca Air, which is a blown yarn, held together with Gazelle kid mohair. This is an all-over cabled design. It took really long to knit this, but it's a very, very good sweater. And it has a split hem here at the bottom, and the back piece of the sweater is kind of longer than the front. And it has twisted strip on the neck, on the sleeves, and at the hem. I chose a smaller gauge, so I chose a smaller needle size for this because I wanted kind of tighter than the recommended ease of the pattern. So I chose to knit it in 4mm needles. So yeah, that is my Smilla sweater, which I really, really like. I love this sweater. I love to wear it. Next is the Rivendell Pullover by Sari Nordland, which is a V-neck cabled sweater, and a similar cable design is here at the arms, at the sleeves. What I really like about Sari's patterns, most of her patterns actually, is that when she has to do a false kind of seam at the side of the sweaters, she just aligns it so well that it starts here and just goes through the sleeve. That's a very successful design element, in my opinion. So I knitted this in size 2. I used a superwash yarn, which I don't like working actually, because it just grows a lot after blocking, and because it's a hand-dyed yarn, you just need to change skeins like in a couple of rows or rounds. But what I did, and I think that's the best way to work with a superwash yarn if you really like superwash yarn, or if you want to work with a superwash yarn. I paired it with a mohair, which is pretty much the same color as the main yarn. Of course it's variegated because it's hand-dyed superwash, but the colors matched really, really well with each other. So the main yarn is Gazelle Wool Star in the colorway Pumpkin Spice, and the mohair is Knitting for Olive in the colorway Copper. I really like the sweater, even though I don't like to work in superwash yarns. I really like to wear the garments with superwash yarn in like transitional seasons, in autumn and in spring, because they're not so warm and they're not so they're not cotton either, so I think they're perfect for cooler but not cold weather. So that's the Rivendell Pullover by Sari Nordland. Next is the Stripe Pipe Sweater by Kotowakika or Veronica Lindberg. That is a very easy, very beginner-friendly sweater. You just start knitting here on the back panel, and you collect stitches for the fronts and join everything in the round. And the colors are super fun. I used Lamia natural wool for the sweater, and although I swatched for the beige or the cream color with the black one, because I was so scared that it would color bleed, and it didn't in the swatch. I had some color bleeding issues with the orange one and with the green one. If you can see, I don't think that you can, yeah. Here, as you can see. I wish I had used anti-color bleeding tissues. I hope they're called like this, but there are some tissues that you put together with your garment or project, finished project, in order to avoid color bleeding, because they catch the color if they bleed, and so that they just avoid to smudge the smudge of colors into the sweater or the garment. So that is a very easy pattern, very beginner friendly. If you are looking for a beginner friendly pattern, that's the one. That's a very, very easy to follow pattern, and it's really fun, and it's a quick knit because you just want to knit one color of stripe, and then you just want to move on to the other one to see how it would look, and so on. So it's just a fun knit. And that is the Stripe Pipe Sweater by Rivendell Pullover. Moving on to summer knits. Here are two of my Sailor Swift tops by, again, Veronica Lindberg, Kotowa Kika. This I knit in Rowan cotton cashmere, which is 85% cotton and 15% cashmere, and this is in lamb's wool and cotton blend. It's kind of rustic, but this one I really like to work with this one. It was so easy to work, and it looks so good. I think I'll be using this yarn in my other summer knits next summer. So these are two of my Sailor Swift tops by Veronica Lindberg. Another Veronica Lindberg summer top is the Love Letter top. Again in Rowan cotton cashmere. In the colorway Seed. This is an all-over lace top. I think it's my first all-over lace project, maybe. I'm not sure. I just changed the bottom a little bit because she finished it, I think, with a rib. I just added some lace details here. This is a very fun pattern, and I used a lot of stitch markers to keep track of my lace motifs to knit this. But it was a very fun knit. Yeah. So finishing everything off with an I-cord edge, other than the hem. In summer, I also crocheted a lot. This is this huge box. I used I used some t-shirt yarn for this in dark green, light green, and in this cream color. This is, I think this is the top yarn is cotton, but the bottom ones, the green ones, are t-shirt yarn. So it's a huge one. I use it to store my stash. And I have another one like this. Which is a smaller one. Which I also use to store, to keep my stash. I didn't follow any specific pattern for these. I just crocheted. I just crocheted the bottom part and then crocheted around, single crochet around the bottom part. And I made a lot of bandanas this summer. Actually, I designed one, which is called the Urla Bandana. And that is again Rowan cotton cashmere, I guess. The pattern is free. It's available in English and Turkish, and there's also a YouTube tutorial, step-by-step YouTube tutorial on my channel, which I'll link down below if you want to knit one for yourself for the next summer. So yeah, these are my bandanas, and I gifted away some of my bandanas as well. These are not the only ones. I also finished the Thea top by Suzanne Miller, or also known as Polystrict. I used Rowan cotton wool in 4mm needles, and I knitted size XS, I guess. Yes. The colorway is milky. So you start, I think, with a crochet provisional cast on and knit the back panel, and then you pick up stitches for the fronts and join everything in the round. Yeah, and I love the rib detail here at the shoulders and at the hem. Yeah, I love this this top, and I still wear it as an underlayer during the colder months. And I also knitted the Air Tee by Ozeda, which I really, really like. The yarn was in a cone, and it's called ZKS Merino, which is I think 100% merino or 80%, I'm not sure, but it's a very, very soft yarn, and I really love it. This took, I think, like 2 months to knit, because it's in a very small gauge on 3mm needles. So you start, that's a contiguous kind of method. So you start with knitting this long rectangle for the back and pick up stitches here again and for the fronts, and you work some short rows and you shape the sleeves, and that's a rollover bottom and sleeves, but the neckline is an I-cord finish after a couple of stockinette rounds. I love this tee. I really like it, and I wear it a lot. During the summer months, I really crochet a lot. This is the first time I'm showing this on my channel. I crocheted a bikini set, which I wasn't able to wear this summer because it was at the end of the summer when I finished it. So that I followed a YouTube tutorial for the kind of flower design here, or star design here and here, and then just crocheted through the back loop for the rib, and then I put an elastic. I crocheted slip stitch with an elastic here for the waistband. So I wasn't able to wear this last summer. I hope this summer I'll wear them. But I think that needs some lining inside. And I crocheted this dress that Taylor Swift wore. It was really popular at that time. So I crocheted this pretty much in the same colors as hers. So I used Schackenmeyer, I think that's how you pronounce it, Catania solid colors on 3.5mm crochet hook. I have a tutorial for this. It was quite a challenge for me because I just had to measure and calculate everything by myself and I made this in pieces. So you start here from the side and crochet all the panel and do a similar work for the fronts, but you need to like decrease and increase to shape the neck. And I crocheted the sleeves and then seamed them at the shoulders. I really like this. It's pure cotton, but I think it's mercerized cotton, I'm not sure. But the yarn peels a lot here. I think I've worn this 3 times this summer, but it's already started peeling. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, here. It was a labor of love. I also crocheted, self-drafted this little top, which was not a super success, but I love wearing it. It was triple crochet, if you know how to crochet. no matter what, how many times I calculated the decreases and increases, it wasn't working. So I was planning to make a kind of dress, a summer dress, or a bikini cover-up with this design. It was so exhausting that I just stopped crocheting it when it was a crop top. Yeah. This is a cotton, kind of mercerized cotton, shiny, some yarn, which was in a cone again. And with the same yarn that I crocheted my bikini set, I crocheted a granny vest, which I used again some fancy buttons. I love this one. I followed a YouTube tutorial to crochet this, but like, I don't know if because it's where I put the button here, there's something that I don't like the fit that much. Yeah, it's okay. I'll keep on wearing this. I love it, I like it, but it's not perfect. So in Turkey, and I think in Russia, last summer was the summer of sequin yarn. So that is my sequin top that I self-drafted and knitted on 8mm needles. I started at the bottom and and made some decreases as I moved up to shape the sleeves and the neckline. And then I joined them here at the straps. So that is my, as you can see, it's really hard to hide those ends with this large gauge. They just keep popping up. Veelu. That is a vest you have never seen on any of my accounts before, because that was a secret test knit and the pattern is not released yet. But I asked the designer and the yarn company if I could share it with you, and they said yes, thankfully. And now that is the first time I'm showing you the Veelu. So this is a vest that is knitted in superwash yarn in pieces. So first you knit the fronts separately, then you knit the back, and then you join everything with the side panels here, and then seam the straps. As I said, I don't like working in superwash yarn, and knitting this, I think it's in 3mm needles, I guess. Here superwash, and here mohair, that part. So knitting this in superwash and mohair separately, row by row, was quite a job, quite a work. And it took, I think it took 2 months. I think I started knitting this in August and finished it in at the beginning of October. But this looks very good. I mean, whenever I wear this, whenever I put this on, I get a lot of compliments on how beautiful this vest is. So it's quite a job, it's quite a hard work, but it's worth it, really. That's a very, very good vest. Next is the Ranunculus. Here, yeah, look at this gorgeous yoke. I love this texture at the yoke. So I knitted this in BC Yarn BioBalance on 6mm needles, which is the recommended needle size, but I held the yarn double. So that is a round yoke sweater where you start at the neck line and knit the yoke, and then you knit the body. There are some increases in the round yoke and also in the raglan line according to your size, whatever size you are. So you start, so every size starts with the same number of stitches, and up until the raglan increases, it's all the same for all the sizes. I have a full vlog on the journey of my first Ranunculus, so I'll just link it down below if you would like to watch that. So that is the Ranunculus by Midori Hirose. Next is the Mudo Sweater by the Petite Knitter. So I used Mahogany Tweed Supreme for the main color and Rowan Tweed Valley for the contrasting color. That's also a round yoke sweater with only short row increases. I knitted this in 3.5mm needles with 4, holding both yarns double. I really, really love this sweater and wear it a lot. Like, I don't know how many times I've worn it, but I wear this like once or twice every couple of weeks. I really love it. Next is the Salted Day Sweater by Kotowe Kika or Veronica Lindberg. That is an all-over texture sweater with some lacy tails, some rib, and some cables. That is a gorgeous, gorgeous sweater. So that's a classic drop shoulder design where you start knitting on the back panel with the increases and pick up for the fronts and join everything in around. Look at that detail at the shoulders. I love this sweater. I used a Trofil Blue Faced Leicester, natural undyed, held together with Rowan Kitzel case. I had to move up to 6mm needles to get the gauge, and I knitted size S, but I have a full vlog on the struggles, on how I felt, how I managed to get the perfect fit for myself for the sweater. I had to cut the sleeves here and then connect the lace part with the rib section because the sleeves were really, really long, too long. And yeah, but I really like the end result now. that is my Soul Today's sweater. Back socks. I am wearing these socks all the time, like right now. I don't know if I can show you them, but here. So I'll just put a picture here. This was my first ever knitted socks, and it was really easy to follow, very beginner friendly, and I really love those socks. I wear them like almost all the time when I'm at home. And I used Schackenmeyer Regia premium silk, and I used 2.5mm needles, which is the recommended needle size, and I knitted the smallest size in the pattern. I really like the pattern, and I really like the yarn that I used, even though it's black. It was hard to kind of keep track because it was my first time knitting socks, but I really like that I chose black and that pattern as for my first time knitting socks. In summer, I finished knitting my Kilometre Scarf. I think it took like 6 months to knit this. Kilometre Scarf is a free pattern by Florence Miller. So it's basically a stockinette tube where you start with a Turkish cast on and finish off with a Kitchener stitch. It's all stockinette. I knitted this in my favorite yarn, one of my favorite yarns, which is Gazal baby alpaca, which is 45% merino, 55% baby alpaca. So I paired it with Penny Glows by Petite Knit. They were really fun to knit, and it's a short-term project. So yeah, the gloves and the scarf together, they pair so well. Next is the Port Sweater by Ozeda. I knitted this in Lamia Just wool, which is 100% recycled wool. So that's a basic drop shoulder sweater with some very nice rib detail here at the shoulders. I knitted this in 5mm needles, so I had to size up for my needles again because I'm a tight knitter. In the pattern, I think the only time she instructs you to size down a needle size is for the sleeves, if I'm not mistaken. For the hem and for the neckline, she just instructs you to use the main needle size. But I wish I had gone down a needle size for any of the rib section that I had knitted. I love this pattern. I love the sweater. The yarn was not so nice to work with because it just made my hands dry. So I had to lotion my hands very often. But I love this sweater. especially with this jean. My attempt to knit the Selbu Mittens. I tried to use drops Nepal for this, but of course the gauge was not correct, so I didn't knit the second pair. It's just like an ornament at my house right now. So I put it right on the bookcase, and well, yeah, it's just an ornament right now. But it was fun to knit. It's my first time all over colorwork project, so I learned a lot. And my Christmas sweater, which is the Cumulus blouse by Petite Knit. Cumulus blouse V-neck. I knitted this on 5mm needles. Holding 2 strands of Angora yarn, 80% Angora. So you start with knitting the back with the raglan increases to shape the V neck, and finish everything off with an I-cordage. The sleeves, the hem, and the neckline. And it's so soft and it's so nice. Again, I get a lot of compliments when I put this on. Next is my huge jacket cardigan Kloss. I knitted this on 15mm needles for the main cables and 10mm needles for the rib section. I had to basically do everything from start to finish. I just used the cable design of this pattern because my yarn is twice as thick as the recommended yarn weight. So yeah. But that is a very warm and a very chic jacket cardigan. I'll just put a picture. It was really hard work because the yarn was too thick, the project was too heavy, and it hurt my wrists a lot. So I started knitting the back panel first and then the fronts, and joined the fronts and knitted the sleeves in the round. And then added the button band, double rib button band, and double rib collar. Next is my favorite beanie, the Stockholm Hat by the Petite Knit. I used one of my favorite yarns, Gazelle Baby Alpaca, the same yarn as I used for my Kilometre Scarf and Penny Gloss. So I knitted this in 4mm needles, and I held the yarn double. So that is an all over rib texture with kind of, yeah, tip at the top. Like, this is my favorite hat right now. So I used double pointed needles for the tip of the hat. You start here and knit in 1 by 1 for a couple of rounds, and then start decreasing here and here, and then finish everything off here at the top. While you're blocking, before blocking, she instructs you to put an elastic band here, and she instructs you to block it, dry it with the folded brim after you fold it, to lay it flat and dry it after blocking. Next is the Book Club Cardigan by Sari Nordland. This is the first time I'm showing this on this channel, because I finished it at the very end of this year. Yeah. Here is the double knitted bottom band, which I followed the instructions of Florence Miller on her channel. I'll just link it down below. And here are the pockets. I vlogged the process of me knitting this beautiful Grand Parcours cardigan. I'll just link it down below after I finish editing it, because it's a very good one and a long one, including how to knit without cables and how to correct your wrongly twisted cables without ripping the whole section of rows or rounds. That was my I think longest whip this year, because it took like 6 months to knit it. I started this in June when there was a book club Cal, but in July and in August it was too hot to handle this cardigan, so I just put it aside, and I grabbed it I think in September again. So September, October and December I knitted this, and it was a labor of love. It's a work of love. Here is the pockets. Yeah. Let me button this up. I used Fibra Natural Shepherd's Own, which is a rustic yarn, but it softened a lot after blocking. Held together with Feza Kid Mohair on 4.5mm needles. And that is the Book Club Cardigan by Sari Nordland. And the very last project I finished this year is the Joy Scarf, which is a free pattern, and I knitted this as a gift knit for a friend of mine. Look how beautiful it looks. This is an all over broken rib stitch. I think it's a bead stitch. It's called a bead stitch. I used drops Nepal, and I think I used 8 skeins to knit this scarf. And the yarn comes in 50 grams. So that is my last project of this year. Now that I look back and see everything I knitted and crocheted this year, it was a very productive year. I hope 2025 will be at least as productive as this year, and I'm looking forward to 2025 projects. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.